Welcome to the Fencing Success Podcast, a show where fence and deck contractors are looking to grow their company and take it to the next level. Hey, I'm your host, Marko Sipila, co-founder at FencingLaunch. In each episode, we will be interviewing successful business owners, vendors, and a whole lot more. We'll see you on the podcast. Hello. Welcome, everybody, to another podcast here on the Fencing Success Podcast. I'm your host alongside Zane, Laulainen, the co-host for this podcast. What's going on, Zane?
Hey, Marko. How you living?
Well, it's just another day. We've been having a lot of things moving and shaking here at the company. We're obviously releasing a lot of master classes, doing some things. But in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to grow $1 million fence business in 2024. Okay. So there's going to be some things we're going to screen share. There's going to be some things that, obviously we're going to have some dialogue about. And obviously this is not a, one trick pony in this, but really we've came up with 8 different, steps or strategies that you guys can follow. If you're a fence company, if you're looking to, grow and scale your company to that $1 million level. What we've noticed is in this industry, there's 80% of the marketplace is contractors, below $1 million a year. They might be, 200 grand, 300 grand, 400 grand, or maybe even $500,000 a year in revenue. And getting to that $1 million level is difficult and it's not easy. And so that's why we're providing as many resources as possible to help those folks, get to that level. If you will. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. So there's 8 different steps here. The first one is you want to develop a very strong online presence. Now that seems super vague, and obviously we'll jump more into it here. At FencingLaunch, we work with, fence and deck businesses, and we see exactly what the $1 million fencing businesses are doing. So like what does their marketing mix look like? What does their sales team look like? What we kind of see behind the curtains what they're doing, right? And I will tell you for sure, those companies have an online presence and they're very dialed in. So Zane, just to kind of jump us off here on the first step, like what are some key elements that every fence business website or every fence business should have to attract more visitors? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, we're going to talk about having a Google My Business set up, and we're going to talk about having at least 25 Google reviews. So as soon as you hit about 25 Google reviews, it becomes a ranking factor on the local maps. You probably heard of the term local SEO, things like that. Once you hit about 25 Google reviews on there, it becomes a pretty big ranking factor. And what I mean by ranking factor is it's just a vote of trust. And now Google says, takes a look at those reviews and says, yes, this is a trustworthy company. Let's go ahead and push their brand out there more. If we talk a little bit more about the Google Business Profile, formerly Google My Business, we want to make sure that we have all the services listed on there. We want the service areas, we want the hours, we want every bit of information that we can add to that Google Business Profile. We want it completely filled out. So when somebody sees you on maps, it has your hours, it has exactly what you're doing, any discounts, promos, etc. But just make sure you fill out all of that information. Now, one of the lowest hanging fruit, if you will, is just explaining what it is you do and what area you do it in. So like if I was in Longview, Washington, like I am right now, and I was a fence contractor here, you'd be so surprised on the amount of companies that don't include, I do XYZ in XYZ area. Out the gate, when a customer scrolls and they read that first sentence, it's like if I'm looking for a fencing contractor in Longview, Washington, and you say, we build XYZ fences in Longview, Washington, they're more inclined to read on because you're exactly what they're already searching for. Does that kind of make sense, Marko?
Yeah, no, totally. What would you say to, fence business that might have, a couple Google reviews? Like what's a quick tip to help them get more? Like what should they do?
Yeah, simply asking customers, right? I mean, first and foremost, you have to have a good business. You have to deliver a quality product. But most of the time, Google reviews are falling through the cracks because one, you're not sending them a text afterward. Thank you for your business. I really appreciate it. We're a small growing business. Would you mind leaving us a Google review? I grew a small home cleaning company to about $500,000 a year, sold it. And one of the things that we did to get Google reviews in the beginning, but even throughout the entire business cycle, was just ask customers for them. So after we went and did the work, as long as they were happy, we didn't offer them an incentive. We didn't offer them a gift card or anything like that. We just had a text message that we would manually send to them, and then we would have automated emails going out asking for a Google review with a link for them to go leave the Google review. And that's ultimately how we got most of our businesses. Now, you can try to incentivize with a $25 Starbucks gift card or anything like that, but you're going to easily get to that 25 Google review mark by simply just going back to the customer and saying, hey, how was your experience with us? Would you mind leaving us a Google review?
Yeah. And showing them, right? So like this is one of our clients actually, Armor Fence of Maryland. You can see here, I mean, they have 50 Google reviews or 49, almost 50 here. But even to get to this level, like it doesn't take any fancy things. Like you could literally, just like Zane's saying, just have your technicians ask, the homeowner after you're done with the project, like, would you mind giving us a review? It helps us out, to help us win more business in the future. And oftentimes, if you just show them on their cell phone, like right there, how to do it, they'll, pull it out and you can show them exactly where to leave the review and all that good stuff. Now, the other thing that everything, step number one here, which is, obviously being super online presence here. If you take a look at Armor Fence's website, you can see there's a whole host of different pages here in the menu bar. And it's telling essentially, all these prospects in Maryland exactly what they do. So like from fence installation, they do aluminum, wood, vinyl, Trex. Like there's different systems that they install, right, for the different fences. And then you see under About Us, they have a team page, reviews page, careers, service area. It's going to be very self-explanatory. Like here's all the service areas that this company works in. They even have a gallery, a blog. Like all of these pages on here are going to help Google, but also the public understand what exactly Armor Fence does, so they can generate a really strong online presence on here. Right, Zane?
And the only thing I would change about this website is beautiful, is I would switch the contact us button to a get an estimate button or a get quote button, right? Contact us isn't like clear. We're not asking, for a specific, you're going to get XYZ thing if you go ahead and submit this information, right? But get a free quote, get a free estimate. They know what they're getting. And then you should have some sort of expectation. So when they go to a thank you page, you should say, a team member will be reaching out shortly to learn a little bit more about what you're looking for. And then that way it kind of foregoes the rest of your sales process.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, let's jump on to step number 2, which is really social media marketing. And we do a lot of that here at FencingLaunch. And what we've figured out is generating leads and new customers through social media for fence businesses has been super effective. It's probably the most cost-effective platform to generate more customers, more fence jobs online when you talk about like the different ways of advertising and things like that. But Zane, if I were to ask you like what social media platforms have you found being most effective for fence contractors to win specifically residential jobs?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it really depends on how you want to define social media. If we're going to talk about social media as typical social media, it's going to be Facebook and Instagram by far, without a doubt. Now, we have to delineate between those two things. And I think we'll get into it where we're talking about paid ads on social media and organic posting on social media. Those are two completely different things and they solve two different purposes. Paid ads on social media, one, they need to be structured in a certain way. Typically, you have a core offer. So you're promoting one type of fence with one type of deal, whether it be $100 off, 10% off, $300 off, right? Vinyl backyard fence install. So Facebook, Instagram, in a roundabout way, the best bang for your buck. Also, the easiest to get up and running on from a paid kind of advertising standpoint. With that, you definitely have to set up the campaigns the right way in the beginning. It is some front loaded work, but once you get rolling, the algorithm kicks in. Definitely a really, really good cost per result there.
Okay. Now I'm going to share my screen, and for those that can see this here, like he was saying earlier, you have your organic sort of like posting. So like this is, or 22 hours ago, this was posted, this fence here, and then you could see this vinyl fence was posted 4 days ago. So like as a company, of course you should be posting organically just to let people know, like your audience, like here's some of the recent projects you guys are doing, whether it's gates, fences, really just like a gallery of different fence jobs you've been doing. But you can also feature, like tell a story through those posts, like Susan got this vinyl fence in Longview, Washington. Here's how it turned out, or whatever, right? And then the ad side would look something like this. I mean, these are just some I found online here, like top rail fence, and all these other ads that I guess when I search fence, all of those ones pop up. But running paid ads, I guess like if somebody wants to learn more about that, like what would you tell them if they're new to all of this, Zane?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, YouTube has a bunch of great resources, obviously, for kind of getting up and setting up your own campaigns. It can be confusing in the beginning. It can be a waste of money. I will kind of preface this by telling a story. When I first started my home cleaning business, it's called Blue Fox Cleaning, based in Phoenix. I actually spent over $10,000 on paid advertising between Facebook and Google, and I couldn't attribute a single sale to those advertising dollars. Now, I'm sure we probably got some sales, but I didn't know how to track it or anything like that. The moment I actually figured out how to advertise, I spent about $1,000 on Facebook, and then the next month I generated $10,000 in recurring revenue in that business on just $1,000 in Facebook ads. So yeah, could you be boosting post? Sure. But if there's no intent, or you don't really know what you're doing behind boosting that post, or you don't have an end goal behind boosting that post, or a follow-up process, or a way to gather that lead's information, right, via messenger or via a lead form and follow up with them, you're really just throwing money into the abyss and hoping that something's going to come back. But again, a ton of great resources on YouTube. You can look it up. Obviously, we're posting stuff like this on our podcast to kind of help you get rolling there. But yeah, tons of resources on YouTube to kind of figure it out if it's a DIY thing.
Yeah, and like everybody's at a different level. Like in Facebook ads, I mean, you could start at $30 a day and start generating leads. You might get 1 or 2 leads a day, so you're not getting tons of action. But whether you're spending $30 a day or $1,000 a day in Facebook ads, you're going to be able to pay to play. That's just kind of how it is. You pay to play. And even if you have a smaller budget and you feel like there's a bigger competitor in your area that's just like outspending you, that's fine. You can still spend the smaller budget, get leads, and have more swings at the bat to sell a fence job. And then ultimately, I guess like a big common question people ask me is, how much should I put into this? And what I typically say is, $40, $50, $60 a day starting out. If you're new to Facebook ads or new to social media marketing, that would be a good starting point, just because you could start smaller, make sure it works, and then kind of scale it up from there. And that way there's less risk involved as well. Like, if you have $50 a day and spend, I mean, chances are, let's say you sell your first deal in the first couple of weeks, you'll start to gain more confidence in the actual, social media. And so that way you'll start putting more into it, and it'll pay dividends in the long term.
Exactly. There's no silver bullet here. It takes time, especially if you're a new advertiser. There's algorithms that you kind of have to train to get working in your favor. But once it's up and rolling, it definitely is a little bit easier to maintain.
Awesome. Cool. Well, let's jump into the third one here. And by the way, if you guys have any questions, I mean, you guys could put it in the comment section below. We'll definitely get to it. And again, the third step to really building $1 million fence business in 2024 and beyond is all about investing in pay-per-click advertising and local service ads. So both of these are platforms on Google as far as advertising. So you have social media marketing, and then you have paid advertising on Google. So they're, both different forms of marketing. And we'll actually be having a masterclass coming up about the differences and all of that. We'll go more in depth into those. But as far as like PPC and local service ads, Zane, let's break this down just briefly, very simply for everybody here. What are the differences between PPC and local service ads, or LSA?
Yeah, so PPC is pay-per-click on Google. There's search ads. Typically, again, you can run maps ads on PPC as well, where you'll actually show up in the maps. But LSA is primarily maps ads. So when somebody clicks on the maps, you'll show up. It'll be a Google guaranteed lead. And what a Google guaranteed lead is, you have to go ahead and do a background check and everything. Yeah, you'll see them right up there. If you click on more fencing pros, it'll bring you to the maps right there. Anyway, Google guaranteed means Google is guaranteeing this service. So you have to undergo a background check through Google, through a third-party network. And essentially it says, hey, if you're a customer, you clicked on this ad, you use this company or service, and you got screwed by them, we will guarantee this work up to a certain amount. So whether that's 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, it's a little bit dependent on industry, right? But it's a pretty rigorous process to get approved. But once you're approved, absolute dynamite, best leads money can buy, hands down, without a doubt. Now, PPC is really good because you are going after people who are searching for exactly what you're offering, right? So if you're doing fencing installation in Longview, Washington, you can be running ads for the keyword. When somebody types in fence installation Longview, Washington, your ad shows up, right? They click on it. They either give you a phone call, they go to your website, depending on your extensions, your goal, conversion goals in the back end, right? The biggest mistake I will see in PPC is going after keywords that are the wrong intent. So they're not commercial intent keywords, they're informational intent keywords, which means you are spending money. And it would be like, how much does a standard fence cost in Longview, Washington? Like, that's not a keyword that I would want to go after, because somebody's in information gathering mode. They're not in commercial mode, right? But if somebody was looking up fencing installation company near me, well, that's a commercial intent keyword. So when you're kind of bidding on the wrong keywords, you're just throwing money away, right? They're not going to probably turn into a lead. They might not. Again, we can look at the data in the back end and, do bid adjustments on certain keywords and pause certain keywords in the Google PPC campaign that just doesn't make sense or isn't converting. But that would be kind of one of the main issues that I see when we come into a new PPC account.
Yeah. And I actually had this pulled up, which is the keyword planner, which is a really good tool by Google that will show you exactly how many people are actually searching for fence companies, fence contractor near you. So if I were to do this in, let's say, Chicago market, and you're in Chicago and you do all of Chicago Metro, we could search, fence contractors near me, anything that you would think would be a big keyword, fence companies near me. And if we click on get results, it's going to essentially load up all of the keywords that are really big in that area. So we can see here, it's going to come up with the keywords that I search, but it's also going to come up with other keyword ideas that might be a good idea to add those to the campaign as well. So just a rule of thumb, because again, we don't want to get too in depth in here. The things you want to look for is like, what is a keyword that has buyer intent, but also is it's low competitive? Because if you're new to advertising, you want to target the low competitive keywords because they're going to be cheaper to get. And then also, like, do they have search volume? Is there a lot of people searching that? So if you're in, again, if we search fence contractors, Washington, D.C., like this keyword, and we were to, go to the map section here, if you're in Washington, D.C., there's plenty of business, right? There's plenty of market. There's plenty of homeowners searching for fence companies. But let's say you're in the middle of, Madison, way out here, and you only go a 10-mile radius, then Google PPC might not be as effective because there's not as many people searching that, right? But again, if you're in a metro area, you could do this all day long. I mean, there's plenty of searches. As you can see in Chicago, fence contractors, there's 2,000 people searching that. fence contractors near me, there's 8,100 people searching that. It's a medium keyword. So it'll show you how much it costs to get a click. Now, keep in mind, Google PPC, the leads you get from, or the clicks you get from PPC are not guaranteed leads. Like, you have to make sure it's a good keyword, and you got to make sure your landing page is good and you convert the lead. But with LSA, it's a dispute process where every lead you get, you can either dispute or it's a good lead. And so that's why a lot of the industry is moving more towards LSA, is because you just have a better success rate. Would you say, Zane, would you agree there's just a better success rate with leads because you can disqualify or you can dispute the bad leads? And obviously you got to be a legit contractor, but you're able to dispute them.
Yeah. And you also have to have a certain amount of Google reviews before you can get approved for LSA ads as well. So Google is going to make sure that you know, are a legit contractor. They don't want to guarantee you work if they believe that there's a high risk that you're not going to be able to fulfill the duty. So they're going to take a look at those reviews as well. When they do a background check, they're going to go look for disputes or, you know, filings against you or lawsuits, right? Because they want to protect their own butt, right? They don't want to lose money because you as a contractor, you know, they gave you a lead, you went out, you performed the job poorly, and now they got to fork out money. But definitely, yes, higher success rate on LSAs.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And then let's talk about budget, right? Because with Google ads, you might want a bigger budget than you have with, you know, Facebook ads, just to kind of make it worth it. But where would you say sort of the, you know, entry level is for all of that?
So on Google, LSA and PPC are a little bit different. LSA, you have to give it a really large budget, even though it won't spend it. So basically, whatever your monthly budget would be, you have to put as your weekly budget. Google's not going to spend it on the LSAs. It auto rotates out ads, so you're not going to show up first every single time. It's kind of like a lottery system, if you will, where it kind of randomly, intermittently picks contractors and puts them up. Again, Google reviews, things like that do help in your favor. The biggest thing on LSA is response time. So if your response time is like sub 10 minutes, you will show up more often on searches for local service ads, because Google, again, wants to reward the consumer. Like, that's its ultimate goal, right? So as far as budgeting goes, you know, if you're a smaller fence contractor doing $40,000 a month or $30,000 a month, I would say if you're going to go strictly PPC, you would probably want to start about $40 a day. You know, make sure that you set up that campaigns. I want to warn you, PPC does take a couple of months to get rolling. It is not an overnight thing. You got to go in and exclude bad search terms and, you know, do keyword bid adjustments on the correct converting keywords. So it's not an overnight thing. It's definitely going to take you a couple of months to get set up and rolling there. Local service ads, it's probably going to take you 30 days to get verified. Once you're there, if you want to spend about $1,000 a month, you're going to put that budget at $3,000 to $4,000 total, or about $1,000 a week. And then that way you'll show up more often on the local service ads. If you have a low budget, you won't show at all. Like, you just won't show at all. That's just kind of how it works. So yeah, depending on where you're at, what your growth goals are, again, you got to start somewhere. Once you start it, you figure out what the pattern is, you figure out what your conversion rates are. On PPC, a super solid conversion rate's 8%. That means out of 100 clicks, 8 turn into leads, right? You know, so theoretically, if the leads were costing, the clicks were costing you about, you know, $8 a click or $6 a click, with a very well optimized landing page, it might be about $65, $70 a lead. From there, you go into set rate on lead volume, which is a whole nother conversation, right? But you figure out what it costs to acquire a customer, and then is it scalable, right? So if I put more money into Google, am I getting more leads, right? And is the conversion rates the same? So there's a lot of things that you're going to look at downline once you start to convert and get leads on a certain platform, you know, via lead quality, etc. But I will say, one of our clients last month actually had a better set rate and close rate off Facebook leads than on Google leads, which is very rare,
Wow.
but it does happen.
Yeah. Typically we see the opposite, right? A higher set rate on Google, lower set rate on Facebook. But that's awesome. Okay. Awesome. Well, let's jump on to the fourth step of growing $1 million fence business. And this step is all about content marketing, which is Zane's background because he did a lot of video before getting into the marketing space. But content marketing, from my perspective, is really just, posting images, videos, content, blogs, all of that good stuff, and educating the market. Like, here's what we do, and here's why we do it, and here's, who we do it for, like whether it's homeowners or commercial, things like that. But I guess Zane specifically, like, what types of content have you found the most engaging and, really the needle movers? Like, what content are the needle movers? Because there's so many things you could do. Like, what are just a couple things you'd recommend for fence businesses to do from a content standpoint to really grow?
For sure. So first and foremost, video content, but cell phone, short reels, things like that. Especially on Facebook and Instagram, since they're trying to compete with TikTok. They hate TikTok, obviously, came in, took a ton of their market share. They want to see TikTok style content. So whether that's talking head UGC style videos, which is like user generated content videos, which is like a review or somebody talking about their experience with you, right? Or it's you just with a cell phone filming your guys installing a fence and cutting up a little 15-second reel with some cool background music. And they'll recommend some popular songs and things like that. It's definitely the best bang for your time, without a doubt. Again, raw images, it does show that you're active. It shows that you're a legit contractor when somebody comes to your page, right? Which is more like a secondary thing. They might click on an ad and then click on your page to make sure that you're a legit contractor. They do want to see that you have, over a couple hundred likes. That's just a leading indicator that, you are a real business, and they want to see frequent content, at least once a week, where it's just, hey, this is an active company. They are active here. Are you going to win a ton of customers from it? Chances are no, right? But yeah, I mean, just mostly short form videos are going to get the job done for you.
Okay. And where would you want to post these? Like on Facebook, Instagram? What are the?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok are really your best options. Again, we've experimented with Nextdoor. I just never found a winning combination with Nextdoor. I'm not sure why. There's a lot of Karens on Nextdoor. Maybe that's why. But TikTok is great because you can get a reel to blow up, right? It can get, tens of thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of views. We've even posted reels and they've just taken off because their algorithm is wide open. They're a newer social media company and they're rewarding users on their platform like no other. But yeah, I mean, you're going to see most of the views on TikTok with those short style videos. Same with Instagram Reels. Definitely the best place to be. Facebook is hit and miss. Sometimes we'll post reels and they will take off. Sometimes, you're just posting static images, ads, or Canva style content on there, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, and we've noticed that. Like, obviously, like you can't just post once and be done, right? Like that's only going to get so many eyeballs, right? And so that's where it comes into like consistency. That's really the key, to success on the content side. Is like you want to get as many impressions as possible, because you're essentially what you want to do is warm up the customers that are potentially going to shop with you, and through video that you could do that, right? And consistently. So whether that's once a day, 3 times a week, or whatever it is, just create a plan and dial it in. Okay. Awesome. Well, number 5 for the 5th step of growing $1 million fence business is developing a referral program. And typically, you don't really see this until you're like getting close to that $1 million level and beyond. Obviously, every company's a little different. Some people have referral programs, some people don't. We've seen really big success with referral programs just in general in home service businesses, because if you dangle a carrot in front of a customer and you say, okay, here's the thing that you'll get if you send us more business, essentially, you're not going to word it like that, but here's the thing you're going to get if you give us more business, then they're going to be incentivized to send you the people they know. And if you do good work, if you installed an amazing fence for them and they could see that, being a good service for one of their buddies or somebody from their church or whatever, right? They're going to want to talk about your company. So, Zane, just right off the top of your head, like what are some referral programs that you can think about that fence companies should look at?
Well, first and foremost, it's similar to the reviews where you just ask, right? You may not even have to give them anything, but it's, hey, Miss Susie, you're happy with your fence. Is there anyone that you would recommend who's in the market for a new fence? And that sometimes doesn't even entail the fact that you don't have to give them anything like a $25 Starbucks gift card or a $50 Starbucks gift card if you just ask them for it, right? Now, if they're a little bit hesitant, you can say, hey, by the way, each referral you send us, you get a voucher on future services, or we're going to give you $50 Starbucks gift card, things like that. But again, it comes down to just asking. Like the amount of people who will give you a referral if you just ask them for a referral, like, actually, yeah, I do. Pastor John, right, from the church was, we were talking the other day and he did mention something about my fence, how it looked beautiful, right? Like, maybe I can send him over to you. Again, if you don't ask for them, you definitely will not get them. I think people overcomplicate the referral thing way too hard. It's just like, look, step one, ask them for the referral. Step two, if you're not getting a lot of referrals, use some sort of incentive, which is typically like a gift card or, whatever that kind of looks like in your business. But a $50 Starbucks gift card is more than worth it
Yeah.
to get a referral.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right. You have to ask because step one is do good work. Step two, ask. Step three, maybe have a referral program that has more incentive. But even if you just do good work and you ask, you'll win them. Just like us. I mean, we just ask our customers all the time, like, who do you know that could get value from what we have to offer? And then they'll
And by, and
send you a
by the
little
way,
extra.
a super healthy business, 30 to 40% should come from referrals. That's an established business. You're 3 to 5 years old. You have some skin in the game at that point, but you should be getting at least 30% of new work volume via referrals. You should be. If you're not, then you got to take a look at some other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And then that kind of rolls into our next one, which is, number 6 here, which is turbocharge and get more reviews on Google. We talked about that a little bit, but I mean, really what it's going to take is when you guys finish a job and you do the final walkthrough with the customer, let's say you're a lead installer, your lead technician, or production manager does the final walkthrough with the customer. You guys, like once they are satisfied with that job, that's when you ask for the review. That's when you explain to them, like in quote, hey, Mr. Customer, what's really important to us is getting reviews at our company because it helps us win more customers. Would you be open to doing that for us? And if you word it like that, why would they say no? I mean, they're happy with the job. They have a smartphone in front of them, and you worded it in a way that was humble, where like it helps us get more jobs in the future. It costs them nothing to do it. That's where they're going to leave that review, right? And usually, if you help them actually leave the review, like you pull out their phone and say, "Hey, do you mind? Just pull up your phone. I'll send you the link here." Sometimes it's hard to find. Then they have the review link pulled up, and you have like an 80% chance of getting a review every single time from there. But Zane, from your perspective, other than Google, because Google is obviously like the big platform, like everybody should get Google reviews. Where else should you get reviews? Like there's many other platforms. Do you recommend any of these other platforms to get reviews from?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like Yelp, obviously, still a very big deal. Facebook, having customers leave reviews there, a very big deal. Any kind of social media platform that allows you to get reviews. If you're on, Nextdoor, people leaving reviews there. And sometimes these aren't like reviews in the form of a 5-star, but it's somebody posting on your timeline or mentioning you in a comment on Facebook. They post, Johnny did my fence. He did an amazing job. Check him out. That's a review, right? Because if somebody looks you up on Google, that's also going to rank an index. If, Susie has 2,000 friends, right, and she posts about your product or service, and somebody types in, your name plus product and service, that will also show up. It'll be, I had a great, experience with Zane Fencing Co. in Longview, Washington. Highly check them out. And that's going to show up near the top of Google. So again, you have to keep that in mind. Reviews just aren't in the form of stars. Reviews are everywhere. They're all encompassing. More so on Nextdoor and stuff, you'll see either a good review or a bad review. Hey, I had a great experience with this company. I just want to post about them, let you know they're a good contractor. Or hey, I got screwed over by this company. So yeah, again, really Google is your primary driver there, because from a consumer standpoint, they're going. These other kind of review platforms are pretty tertiary. They're kind of secondary review platforms that they definitely will help you for sure, but Google's going to be the best bang for your buck out the gate.
Yeah. And getting Google reviews, usually when you hit the double digit and then triple digit, like once you hit double digit, you have an increase in rankings. And then once you hit 100 and you hit triple digit, then it like really starts to stand out. Because again, if I were to search, fence companies, Washington, DC, like the keyword earlier, and you were to look here, I mean, there's long fence at 345, but 25 reviews, 18.7. Like fencing's a gold rush. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar market, and there's not a lot of companies that have tons of Google reviews, which means the bar is set really low, right? The bar is set really low, and so I can about guarantee these companies are doing more than 25 jobs. Like even if you just got half of your customers to leave a review, that would be, if you've done 500 jobs, it'd be 250 reviews. So, and once you have more reviews, you can see you rise to the top. You're up here. Obviously, they're running an ad here, but if they weren't running an ad, they would be up here. 345, your visibility goes up through the roof. You start ranking for more keywords, and you start getting a lot more phone calls, a lot more leads from Google, which is going to drive to, more sales and things like that.
Exactly. And having a automatic email and text sequence that goes out after the job is completed, reminding the customer to leave a review. We in our home service company, we noticed that a lot. Like we just get a review come in, and it's not because we called or asked them, it's just the automations took care of it for us. So having those automations in place, with a CRM like Drip Jobs or Go High Level or House Call Pro, whatever you're using, having an automated sequence that sends them a few emails after the project is done definitely will help get your review count up.
Oh, absolutely. All right, cool. Well, number 7, this one is one of my favorite things to really help fence companies with, which is you want to use an appointment setting script to set appointments. And what we've noticed across the board is the companies that have an appointment setting script, the companies that optimize this script every time they have a phone call and make it better and do the phone calls consistently the same way, are usually more successful, especially with lead follow-up, especially with like lead management, being able to squeeze more juice out of the leads you're getting. If they're following a script, it's like night and day difference. Whereas let's say you're a contractor and, it's fine. And this is a stepping stone. A lot of, you're an owner operator, you're answering the phones, you're running the appointments, you're doing the jobs, like you're doing everything. You're wearing all the hats. It becomes super hard to actually scale beyond that when you don't establish some of these things. So Zane, how important is an appointment setting script to you, like for fence businesses? What do you think?
Well, having any process that you can follow that creates repeatable what's kind of going on, right? And we need to be able to see why we're not getting a certain output. So when we develop consistency, we're going to develop, numbers. So for an example, the lead comes in, let's say we get 5 leads come in, and we develop a system where we can get a 35% set rate. And that's what we're averaging for 2 months straight, right? We now have a benchmark to test against. But to get to that 35%, we need consistency. We don't want 1 week we have, or 1 month we have 15% set rate, and the next we have 40% set rate. There's no consistency there. So it's really hard to scale your business when you don't have a consistent process that you're following. And obviously, scripting is extremely important. Appointment setting. The biggest issue that I see in appointment setting by far is pre-selling the product, right? So, like the entire job of an appointment setter is to pre-qualify the consumer and then get a salesperson out there. Like, if the job of sales is to sell, like the job is to overcome no. Like the answer is already no. You're already priced too high out the gate, regardless, right? Um, and the job of the sales guy is to build, know, like, and trust. So yeah, as long as you can develop a consistent process where you're getting leads coming in, you can develop, 30 to 35% set rate. And those, if those are your numbers based on the consistency, you can actually scale your business by just taking a look at the numbers and pouring more gas on the fire.
Yeah. And like on those set calls too, let's say you get a lead and you got to call these leads. Like there's a specific process you want to follow, especially when it comes to Facebook ads, because a lot of the people are just going to be in that information gathering stage versus like being ready to actually buy right now. And so there's going to be a specific framework of like how you should do that call, which we'll be talking more about that. We'll probably have a masterclass on like how to set appointments, but there's a specific process, questions you should ask that potential customer to gauge their level of interest and like how much buyer intent they really have. That way you can see if this is something you want to schedule on a sales estimate for or not. And so just following that will be very helpful for you, if you're a fence business. And then, number 8, the eighth step of growing $1 million fence company here, what I notice is those companies doing is same thing on the sales side. They just have a consistent sales process throughout the entire company. So like if they have 3 salespeople, they're all doing the same thing. Like they're just kind of plug and playing. And whether it's a Facebook lead, Google lead, they're following the same process once they go out there and try to sell the customer. And again, there's a multi-step approach to that. We won't get into all of that today. Like here at FencingLaunch, we have a 6-step sales process that we teach, to the fencing companies we work with. But Zane, from your perspective, how do you see this right now with, companies that are currently doing over $1 million a year? Like, what are a couple things that they're doing differently than the smaller companies from a sales side?
What I would honestly say is there's more money left on the table in the fact that you're not following up with prospects after the fact. So it's probably not even the fact that, yeah, maybe your sales process can be improved or XYZ, right? There's a million different things that come down to it. Um, you know, the Virgo sign, the moon was in the wrong position on that day and it's just, didn't convert, right? The biggest issue that I see is people expecting homeowners to convert on the first point of sale, which obviously you want to push and try to do, right? You want that money now, you want a quick turnaround on your cash, but let's be realistic, it's not always going to happen. So, one, it's, hey, can I set a follow-up date with you? I know that you need to talk to your spouse. It's an important decision, XYZ. You've already tried to close the deal and they're just not closing. Is there a date where I can call you back and you guys think you'll have a decision made by, right? Set that
Mm-hmm.
date and call them, right? Some of our customers, they close 40% of their deals within the next 2 weeks after the initial sales call. So it's like 40% of the sales they're making are because the salesperson is calling them back after the initial sales appointment. Like imagine if they didn't do that. They would make way less money, right? So I know it's annoying, but you've already paid a ton of money to get the lead, to drive out there, to do an hour, sales process, right? Ask for the sale. You're already in this thing hundreds of dollars in both time and in money. What's another 4 phone calls over the next 2 weeks to try to win that deal over? Like, there's so much money left in the pipeline from just calling back the people you've went and quoted. I think that would, you know, really skyrocket your business to the next level.
Yeah. And like from a sales standpoint, you know, it's all numbers game. Like data doesn't lie. So you want to track these things. Like what are your conversion rates? What is your cost per lead? What does it cost to, for an appointment to come out there? And what's your closing rate? Like all of those numbers are going to measure and track exactly how effective the advertising is to your actual sales is. And it's going to help you grow and scale the company to the next level. So that's it, guys, for all of this. In terms of 8 steps to growing a fence business to $1 million. If you're a fence business or a deck company and you do fencing and decking and you're looking to grow your company to the next level, you're looking to scale, you have more room to take on more projects, then FencingLaunch might be for you. What we've developed is a system. It's called the FencingLaunch system, and this program is specifically for fencing companies that are looking to grow. And we help them through paid advertising like Facebook ads, Google ads, things like that. So if you're interested in any of that kind of stuff, definitely go to our website. It's fencinglaunch.com, and you can learn a little bit more about kind of the solutions that we have to offer for this industry. But other than that, Zane, any last comments or anything about everything we talked about today before we jump off this one?
I think I'm pretty well set. Yeah, I would encourage you guys to go check us out, check out some of our free resources, some of our other master classes or podcasts that we've done. But yeah, if you're looking to scale your fencing business, there's definitely a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. Having the right information, the right team behind you could definitely help skyrocket your business. We spend tens of millions of dollars in advertising, generated over $100 million in home service sales. So I would definitely like to be part of that team that helps you get there.
Awesome. Well, without further ado, you guys have an amazing day, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.